Here we go.
All right, and we are live. You're here with Heidi Love and a bunch of other people who are introduced in a minute with Real Life Talk. And today we have a very, I believe, special episode. I get to be honored to have my father, Hans, here and his wife, Annie, today for our talk, and a really touching story and a really heart-wrenching story and a really sad story and a really triumphant story. So get your Kleenex box and get your humor on, and we're going to have a deep time together today. So I am here on the big island of Hawaii. I feel like I'm echoing. Am I echoing?
It sounds like there's a radio in the background. Do you guys have anything like a...
No, I turned it down.
We're still picking it up a little bit, but...
I can mute. Maybe that'll help. But if you are on with us live today, just stay on and you can comment in the comment box if you have questions for Timothy or I or our special guest today. Please type with us. Tell us you're here. We want to interact with you on the comment box and Facebook. And yeah, I'm really happy to have my dad here. I'm probably going to cry a lot, maybe, I don't know, laugh a lot. We were talking yesterday and laughed a lot. So I'm just super excited to have them on the show and really touched. And I think we all have a lot to share around this very tender topic of terminal diagnosis, of cancer, of suicide, of living with hell, living with disease, living with a terminal diagnosis. So I'm going to let Timothy introduce himself, and then we will let our guests say hi.
So you know me if you've been on this Real Life Talk before. My name is Timothy Earle. I live on the island of Maui. I am a life coach specializing in individuals and couples who want to expand and grow their life in some fabulous area. And I do see clients here on the island, do specialized journey work with people as well. It's a lot of fun. And both Heidi and I offer half-hour intake calls for free if you're interested in knowing what our services are and whether or not they might be a good match for you. I've had my own bouts with relatives who committed suicide. Heidi knows that. And I recently, 2 years ago, was diagnosed with cancer and finished my chemoradiation treatment a year and a month ago. And so I have a little bit of insider information or knowledge, and I'm really excited that Heidi's father, Hans, is here to talk with us about his journey with terminal cancer. I am sure this is going to be a very touching and live conversation.
So before I unmute them, I muted because we had an echo. I just want to say that I'm touched that you guys are here. And Annie, I know you've been touched by death so much in your life and just dealt with your daughter and, married my dad and then have gone through this journey. And I also just want to say that, Dad, you inspire me. I have not always had a strong value of living. I've been many times in my life not cared about life, and you have such a passion for life, more than anybody I've ever seen, and that blesses me. So you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and talk loud.
Go ahead, Annie.
Hi, I'm Annie. I'm Hans's wife.
Yeah, I'm the Hans, the guy that claims you're his wife.
And we're in Arizona.
Yeah.
Have either of you, and I'm really directing this at you, Hans, ever asked Heidi for relationship advice, since that's kind of her specialty, or maybe just advice have you ever asked your daughter?
Both areas. Heidi has, it's an amazing thing to watch your kids grow and then watch the manifestation of what they're attracted to and what guides them, what leads them. And Heidi has always projected that she has, she's a searcher. And the thing when you asked about relationships or advice, she has projected herself very well as one that has researched, studied, and looked and journeyed to find out the whys and whats and what to do's. Yeah.
Do you remember anything specific that you ever asked her for advice or assistance about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You want to know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's funny. Most of the things that I've ever talked to her about has nothing to do with death or tumors or any of that. It had to do with how I can win my wife's heart more and more. Yeah.
What I heard you say is how you could live life more in your heart.
No, how I could win my wife's heart more and more.
So basically she helped you get this woman, this gorgeous goddess next to you, Annie, to recognize that you were the one for her.
Well,
It's
probably.
a little more complicated than
Yeah,
that.
I think there was a point that was established was to keep from losing it.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Dad,
maintain the attraction, especially when when my situation has changed. And when we're kids, I think we all, my opinion is that all people, even at a young age, know that one day they will die. People die. And so we're given a gift of denial. So we really get to live our lives in denial. We don't think about it. We just think that, it's going to go on and on and on. And then when you get a diagnosis like this, you can't deny. And then what happens is when you can't deny, it squelches your dreams. Andy and I were married 2 months when I got the diagnosis. We'd known each other for a long time. I take our relationship back almost 18 years. And even though we weren't married all that time, that's my attachment to her, 18 years. And we've been married 8. So when you lose that denial part because you've been given a diagnosis of terminal illness, it did it to her too. So then all of a sudden in our marriage, we're looking at each other and it's like we're robbed of thinking about growing old and doing whatever you do, moving here, moving there, traveling, living on the island, renting an RV, or whatever people do. We've been denied that. That doesn't mean we can't think about it, but that's kind of the first thing that gets punched.
I really resonate. That resonates with me deeply. I remember when I knew I had a tumor here, and 2 doctors looked at CAT scans and said, "Nope, you have no cancer." And I said, "I want to see an ear, nose, throat specialist. I want a camera looking at that. Something's going on." And then he looked at it in seconds, said, "Oh, you have cancer." And similar to you, it was, I've always known death was imminent at some point, but like you, there's this not right away, short of an accident. And the cancer diagnosis gives us a reset. And it doesn't allow us to put any movie back into the VCR or the DVD player. We just have to stay at reset.
Yeah, well said.
And I think you're going to talk about the next step, which is what did you do once you both realized, all right, we're kind of either in this or out of this. and you're in because it's been 8 years. So what did you replace that kind of suspended death's not imminent with? Wow, I only have who knows how much time.
First, before we jump into that, I want to ask Annie, like, what was the first thought impact for you when Dad got diagnosed?
Well, my first thought was, there is no way that I couldn't believe it. And because of the scenario that we were in an emergency room. I had a doctor I didn't know telling me this. Your dad had just been in an MRI. And I have medical background, so they weren't speaking foreign to me, but I was shocked. And they wanted to fly him to Vegas. And I said, absolutely not. You're going to give me that CD of that MRI and I'm taking him home until we can make some solidified decisions about his health care. Because then I had to be the caregiver and the medical person and, you know, have my head clear. So nobody erred and made a mistake and killed him under some pretense of not knowing what they were doing. So I had to go into that mode. That was the first thing.
How did, I want to ask Dad, and then please, Timothy, don't let us not circle back to your question. But Dad, I know that having a tenacious wife, and I say that with total respect and love.
It's
and
not tenacious, it's Irish.
Irish. Having an Irish wife with a medical background, can you share briefly what has been positive about that for you and what's been hard on the marriage about that for you?
Well, the positive part was that she had a talent with a forensic view, almost like the prosecuting attorneys that go after every point of any doctor that said anything. She was good at challenging it to the degree that it led us to abort on one neurologist and explore something else. And she had access to somebody that she respected and other people respected. And he himself didn't want to touch this. They say there's only about 6,000 on the planet that have this type of tumor. And so they don't know much about it. And what little they know about it is that it's really resilient against, surgeries, gamma knife, any radiology treatment. And it seems to react to it for a little while and then it just comes back. So they haven't conquered it. So the doctor that she respected and spoke to admitted that. As a neurosurgeon, he just flat out said, I wouldn't touch this. So, but he knew people that would and were good at it. And so he made phone calls and that led us to Barrows Institute in Phoenix.
And that's what started this road.
Yeah, and that's what started. So remind me of the question that I need to make a point of. Forgive me here, but
just I wanted to know the positive impact of her Irish tenacity, and then the negative impact maybe, or what's been hard on the relationship.
Yeah, she's the one that engineered, for the most part, going, no, this isn't, this guy, his level isn't there. This guy's level isn't there. And until we got there, and she pushed it, and she pressed it, and then she found the help we had. And then we even got to the chief of surgeons of one of the greatest neurosurgeons probably on the planet. People all over the world to come. And in fact, there was a sheik from the Middle East that came here, and he rented the Marriott Resort in Phoenix. And the only people that were there was him and his staff, and everybody else was gone. And then when he went to Barrows Hospital to get this surgeon, he rented the top 2 floors and had them emptied, and he wanted this doctor. So anyway, Annie got me to there. So that's tenacious Irish Annie. So she got me to there. We got the greatest help, And so, and where it's affected our marriage, it's funny. On my end, I've gone through 5 surgeries of where they open me up, and then after that, I've had 5 gamma knife surgeries, and then I've had more radiation surgeries since then. And in all that, I'm the guy that's been on the block and had to roll off. But for Annie, I'm not her. I have no idea how she views her own life, looking at the guy that she thought was her champion and was going to conquer everything. And somehow, in the effect, Annie will give her testimony, but in my effect, it has streamlined how I really am addicted to life. And along with that, I can't deny I would be a fool to not express that in the authorship of where did we come from, how did we get here, what are those resources that are higher than ourselves, beyond the doctors, and that it has really, really awakened me there. So when I look at, I'll just call that space God or Father God, and when I look at that, and then look at my wife, and I see the connection of whatever the Creator's doing in this business to sustain me, or say, no, you're done. Well, apparently, whatever the powers are that created the universe have not stifled me and stopped me from existence. They have not. And so I've got that on one end, and then on the other end, I got this wife that, in the earthly sense, has not only not let go, but has encouraged and supported, and has been that spice that goes, yeah, no, I don't want to leave. I don't want to go. I have responsibilities here. And so that's kind of a short view. If you want to pursue that further, there's a lot there. But that's my 400 words or less.
How,
Annie, go ahead.
Annie, how has it been for you? Let us in on, if you want, your journey with Hans's cancer, and maybe besides your Irish tenacity, what are the other things you're gaining from sticking in here? Easy way to say it is like, what do you get out of this relationship? Because you're in it, and I can tell you're choosing it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in and out of it a few times, actually, through the course of this. I'm very transparent. I'm not going to lie. I mean, in the very beginning of this, not only was Hans diagnosed with this, but 3 months later, he lost his only son. So he was diagnosed with a terminal illness. 3 months later, we lost Levi. So we're dealing with potential loss. Then there's this epic loss. And everybody, I mean, how does one recover in that? And then try to stay focused on the fact that he has to be healed. He has surgeries to have done. He has this immense amount of things happening. And, they say that there's like 5 stages of grief. I think that I have cycled through those 800 times. At least 800.
I'm wondering if you guys can turn the computer or squish together, because I'm just missing half your. There you go. We want to see all of you.
Okay. So, I think it's the cycles, of being angry, or I don't think that I've ever gotten to acceptance. I'm just going to be really honest. I have not accepted that, I'm going to come home one day and he's not going to be here. I've not even entertained it. So that one I skip all the time. I skip that part. And, I think that's the part that keeps me hanging in there and coming back for more, is because I just won't take that. I won't take that step. We occasionally talk about it, or he'll bring it to me and I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even think about that, because he's here. And, I'm not going to say to you that it's been a perfect thing. Like I said, I've cycled through those stages 800 times. I left. I came back. I left again. So and then in the midst of all of this, losing Levi, and then more surgeries, more radiation, more tumor growth. And then 2 years ago, my daughter got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. So it's just kind of the cycle. I lost my mom, and 3 months later, my daughter had cancer also. So, I don't know. I don't know any other way except to stand up and fight.
Yeah.
I can thank my Irish for that, and my mom. I just don't know any other way except to keep on fighting the good fight.
On my end, I'm not dying at all. I'm just living. We all have it coming. Every one of us will see that day. And the only difference between me and anyone else is that somebody gave me a forecast of something that's trying to bring me to that spot, which is a chordoma brain tumor. And that's the only difference. So now, I'm learning how to live like you do, where you don't think about death. You just deny that and think about living, because that's who you are and what you're doing. And that's my best spot. And I hope, for Annie's sake, that we get to taste and just live, instead of live off of the diagnosis. We get to live off of life, which is who we are.
And I think that we have lived a lot of life in this 8 years. I mean, we have traveled, we sailed the British Virgin Islands. We've been to Hawaii more times than I can count.
And we have the richest conversations on any subject that I think any people can without blowing up. When I met Annie 18 years ago, one of the things that was on my mind was that, I think it's important in a relationship is to consider that it's not all going to be ego and sex and lust and attraction. But what about?
We're talking about later.
Yeah. What about those days? As you get older, I think and I think it was important. It was as important to me then as it is now and years to come. But will you converse with that person on the pillow next to you and have chat, have conversation, and be connected? And do you remember that, Annie?
I remember having this conversation with him. I was 42 years old, and we're like, so what happens in 20 years when the rest of it's kind of null and void? You better be able to talk to somebody. You better be able to have conversation.
And if you don't have that, then you're probably involved in a relationship that's not going to last. That was our young age challenge to. Are we it?
Yeah.
Are we it? And then after on and off, we decided we're it. 2 months later, they tell me, did you know you have a chordoma tumor? They're terminal. You probably have from 2.5 years to 5 years, and adios.
Yeah.
And how long has it been, Dad?
8 years.
8 years.
8 years. I remember for me finding this out. So my time is messed up because I thought he was diagnosed after my brother died. That whole area was very painful for our family. So
it was just weeks before that. In fact, 2 weeks before Levi passed, I had the surgery. And then it was probably about a month and a half before that, I got the diagnosis.
Yeah, because he was with me.
Yeah.
Levi was with me.
Yeah, he was there.
when you got the diagnosis.
No, when he had his first surgery, Levi was with me.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So my experience of this as a daughter is losing my brother. My dad's going through this. My mom is diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. We don't know terminal or not. But in my witnessing of this going on, I watched two different people, and this is not out of judgment. This is out of my perception and witnessing. I watched my mom and I watched my dad, and terrified to lose either of them. And I watched my mom have a lot of acceptance that her life was over. She was like, I'll try whatever, I'll do kind of what they say, but she didn't have any passion for living. She really was in acceptance of going, and she talked about that quite often. And my dad, on the other hand, was just like what he said. He was like, I'm not gonna die. He's like, this is a bar fight. I've won plenty of bar fights in my life. It's fucking cancer's gonna beat me. I don't think so. And I watched this man with a passion for life and witnessing these. And again, this isn't out of judgment. I mean, we had a beautiful experience as a family of being there with my mom as she died. I mean, Annie and my dad were there. My mom had several exes. I think there might have been 5.
More than me.
So my mom was a very well-loved woman. But so just, I don't know. I can't even explain the impact. It's tied into my own depression and not having a desire to live sometimes, and the impact of watching my brother lose his life, and then my mom let her life go, and not her fault, or that she caused it or whatever, just an acceptance and watching it go. And then watching my dad, our joke is, and my other brother says that, Heidi, the last thing, if we have an apocalypse, that'll be alive on the planet is cockroaches and your father. Like
Amen.
That's a standing joke now.
I think this is a
I
good.
can attest to living with not thinking about you dying. I mean, it hits me sometimes, like when I was there, and it's harder to do things. And my dad is a doer, like creator, builder, artist, doer. And when I've watched physically him have a harder time with things, then sometimes it hits me like, oh shit, something's really going on. But for the most part, I don't look at him like that. I don't think about it all the time. I think like my brother, he's going to be alive longer than all of us. And then it hits me. And then it hits me sometimes. Like my sister texts me the other night and she's like, I'm sad that I haven't spent more time with you and Dad. And sometimes I think I avoid being hurt by things. And she's like, we're a lot like our dad, she says to me in a text. And then I cried. Like, fuck, she's there. Sorry, I'm cussing so much today, but like, I got sad. Like, she's there with him and gets to be with him. And my daughter gets to be with him because they all live in the same town and I don't. And it's my choice. It's my choice. I'm here in Hawaii. I could go live in Havasu, but I get sad. I have, fear of missing out.
That was my next question, Heidi, was how has it been for you having lost a brother, your mom, and then to have your father diagnosed, and you're kind of jumping into it just naturally. Part of you wishes that you could be closer, and it's your choice, but your heart is there, right? Have there been any other impacts that you want to share or talk about with your dad's diagnosis? Because I think it's important to talk, often we focus on the cancer person and not necessarily Annie or you or the other people that are around Hans?
So you're asking the other impact on me, or?
Mhm.
I mean, it's what I've shared. It's the watching the passion of him to live that's been inspiring. And it's also, I mean, I've had real bouts of, so I'm feeling shame come up. I've had real bouts of depression in the last few years because it's been very transitory for me. And I have shame that my dad is going through what he's going through and in the pain that he's in his body and had his brain cut out a million times. And I want to die. Like, and I have this amazing, beautiful life that I've been given and an amazing, healthy body. And what's my problem? You know, a lot of shame and guilt I've experienced over that. And then also the inspiration of, well, if he wants to live, there must be something to this. Like, I better find it. I better find what that man found. And then getting closer to my dad. I mean, my dad and I had years of time together when I was a child. We had a lot of years apart and some estrangement. And then these last years, because of all this, and you realize when you lose someone, you lose your brother. I lost my niece. I lost my mom. You know, you realize that you don't want to lose time. And, you know, one of the things that people say is, well, do you talk all the time or whatever? And I have a question, like, if I don't call my dad today, am I going to be sad tomorrow if he died? I ask myself those questions. And sometimes the answer is no. I hate talking on the phone. I don't want to talk every day. And I'm okay with that. And when we do talk, it's really deep and lovely. And personally, I wish we were in the same town. Or, you know, last night I was talking to him and I wish he could come build a village with me. Like, my dad and I have a lot of same entrepreneurial spirit and creation and building and retreats. And, you know, that would be my dream, to spend like building something like that in Hawaii with him.
Beautiful. Are there any gifts, Hans or Annie, any gifts that have come from your diagnosis?
Oh,
You've
yeah.
said a few already, yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk first? Then I'll fill in.
Yeah, I think it's just about that passion for life. And things are richer. Things become richer. Even the small things become richer because it's a time thing, if that makes sense. It's like, so we don't all know how much time we have. I mean, you know, we should all be living like we're dying because we don't know. So I think that has been a huge gift for me, just because historically in my life, and that's not what this is about, but I have had epic loss, you know, since I was a little girl. And so I've experienced some of the things that, you know, Hans and all of his children are experiencing. I've already experienced some of this. So that doesn't make me, you know, an authority on it. I just understand more. And so I think the gift now is the passion for this life and not taking things for granted and trying to learn every single day that, is this really worth my time or any running space in my head, or is this more worthy of my time and my energy? Yeah.
I look at the diagnosis like a mentor and assigned to me, and he sits there on my shoulder like a parrot, but in truth, it's the angel of death. But at the same time, has no authority until it's assigned. So we become mates. So what has it taught me? You know, it has heightened the color, the flavor, the taste of what it is to be alive. It really is. And then, you know, and I hope this is, you know, it's just my reality, but I I'm always pondering. I'm not an atheist. I'm the opposite of that. And I'm not trying to preach anything here, but I so feel that we're this mass of atoms that are made out of everything that everything else is made out of. We've been given consciousness, we've been given awareness, and I look into the cosmos, and we can project that there's probably other things out there that maybe think like we think, but in the obvious part, we've never witnessed it, we've never seen it, but we see a lot of things that are just there and have no awareness of consciousness. So we're very privileged as this mass of matter that can think that way and be aware of, and I'm concerned of the cosmos and the universe and you and myself. And so with that being said, it has led me to it's almost like any child in front of their parents that wants to show off or get their attention, and yet at the same time know that your parents are the authorship of every good thing that's ever happened to you or even your existence. So the goodness of what this has done is it has made me aware that goodness and mercy has followed me every single day of my life, or I could not be sitting here, no matter how rotten the days I've ever had. I'm sitting there having this conversation with y'all, and it's because of that. So in that, I really do believe that I will dwell in the house of God forever and ever and ever. And I don't have to die to get there. I'm already there. So whatever happens to me will be a transition. Two things will happen. One thing will be all of a sudden I'm not present, and you will all see what you see, and I won't be in the presence. On my end, everything will lose its presence at the moment. All of you, the sky, the mountains, everything that I'm familiar with. That's the most horrifying part for me, is that all things go away in my mind. However, it's that faith of life that gives me hope and peace that that's okay. So to you all, one physical thing will be out of the picture. And to the degree it hurts, it hurts. But you'll have everything else remaining to carry on, which is a wonderful thing. And in my mind, I have to give it all up.
No, I think it's such an important thing you're bringing up, Dad. And when I did hospice work, this was something I learned and I never knew or never thought of it. But that, yeah, we grieve the one person that we're losing, and you, the person that's going, grieves life, grieves every single person on it, grieves ice cream, grieves the sky, the flowers, the anything.
Yeah. And so I'm not led to grieve that. I have intellectually thought it. My mind has brought that forth. And in my prayer life, which is all night long, it's just every night, and I love it. And these are the things that I chat. And as I chat those things, it's like, how do I view that? How am I okay with that? And and then one time, I think one of the most important things that hit me is it's like, I know so many people that have not made it as far as I have in this. And like I say, I've got 4 fronts that I'm fighting to stay alive from. And a lot of people don't get that. So it's like, God, I look at my life and I look at my corruption. I look at my, for lack of a better word, sins, which is anything you do that goes against yourself. or hurts anyone else, you know. And I look at that, and it's like you have favored, and you've heard prayers, you've listened to them, and you favor that I get to remain, I get to stay, and I've stayed through times I should have already been gone. And then in my carnal mind, I'm thinking, what do you want me to do? Yeah, it must be a reason. There's got to be this big giant thing that I got to do. You know, I got to go rescue Africa, or you know,
Go build a village for Heidi.
I go build it. Yeah, you know, and it happened very quick. I had this conversation in a moment with God, and the answer that came right back to me is that I just want you to hear me. I will be happy. This is God speaking. He says, I'll be happy if you just love me with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. And he said, I want you to think about that, because there's other things. And the other things that came up was, what more in my life could I ever want than like you, Heidi, and my wife, Annie, to look at me and love me with all their heart, soul, and mind. There is no gift that is greater in my experience than to be loved, just to be loved. And so that's all he required of me. So I don't have to run out and, you know, build a church or do this or do that. Do that. He'll assign those other things when it's appropriate, and he'll make it happen, just like he's made my life continue. So that gives me a lot of peace. And then even this morning I'm going, you know, Lord, I'm afraid to tell you I love you, because, you know, we hang up and go, love you, love you, love you, love you. You know, we all do it. And of course we mean it, but I can't just do that with God. Yeah, love you, amen. You know.
We'll talk later.
Pardon me. So I'm having this conversation with him about that, about, you know, and then all of a sudden it was like I just realized that not only, you know, Lord, I know you know that, so I'm not afraid to say I love you, God. It's okay. And
So
go ahead.
I have a question about love, because as you guys know, it's one of my favorite topics. I love love.
Yeah.
And I also get on a soapbox of the emptiness of like, how are ya? I love ya. It's kind of become the same thing. And
Yeah.
I love the depth of devotion and that you're talking about in loving God, like worshiping, loving, devotion, presence. And so I'm wondering, on a human level, for all of us, if you were to say, how do you know, or what ways can I show you that, or Annie show you that in a human way, that it's not like I love you, but where you see that heart of love we have for you? Like, what is it for you to receive that from us?
You know, Heidi, I've got to say that right off the top, out of the 5 children that I've got to be a father to, you are my first eyes view of how that works, how that question works, how on my end, not only do I think that you genuinely look at me eye to eye with that potency of truth, of love, but it inspires me to know that's how I see you. And more in my heart, and it's funny that on this program here, but I'm going to say it, but I want to do more with that in my heart than I've done. You know, you said about at a human level, at one point, maybe that's all we got, but I really believe that deep down we know that there's more to it, which is what our connection is beyond human. And should I leave tonight or tomorrow, what we have will never ever stop talking to each other. It will never. No, it won't. It just won't. And it'll happen in ways that our flesh doesn't comprehend, but spiritually and soulfully, you'll know it and I'll know it. And I get that. And Jimmy Reed, he expressed to me not too long ago, he said, he said that probably the most horrifying thing to any family member is losing a family member. And he says, I don't have an answer to it. He says, but my goal is to express to all my kids and to Joan, his wife, that should he leave, that it's not only okay that he leaves, but that they'll be okay. Now, that's the short-term words, but building a relationship on that is what he's trying to do, and I'm just getting that. So as I say that, I want to reach to my wife and to my children, and then beyond that, to those that are close to me. That and I don't have a formula or a technique to it, but it's my heart to convey that it's going to be okay for me and it's going to be okay for you, and don't look at it as a loss or a freak thing. Sadness and grief, God, it's kind of a wonderful thing to feel it and experience it. But but along with that, I really want to establish with you all that you don't fall or fall down because of it. And so in the rest of my days, I want to work on that with Annie and with you guys, that should that day happen, don't fall over. It's okay. Keep walking forward, because you're right behind me and you're going exactly where I'm going. And when you come through the gate, I'm going to be there. I'm right there.
You better be.
Oh,
you better be.
Yeah. You better come to that gate. Not that gate. That gate.
Right. And then I just want to share something too, Heidi. I mean, aside from the fact that you have an amazing dad, even if he wasn't my husband and I was just the observer, you have an amazing dad. I never experienced what you guys get to exchange, and I watch him with all of you. It is an amazing thing to me. I only had my dad till I was 19. I have no idea what it's like to be a grown-up and have a dad. So
neither do I.
Right? And neither does he, truth be told. But I can honestly say that as I watch him with all of you and listen to him with all of you, and I had a conversation with Jessica the other day, and she was adamant about, because she's feeling some of the things that you're feeling right now too, about the potentiality of not having him. And she was adamant with me about, please promise me that if anything happens, that you're just not going to go away. That I'm just not going to go away and, just exit from all of your lives either. Not that I have this huge standing in it, but I mean, I have heart and soul and love for all of you too. So when your dad speaks those things to you and shares all of that with you and shares that with her, it is potent. I believe him. And if all of you don't believe him, I believe him for you right now. Is that he, wants you all to be okay and be safe and be happy and know that he is good. Does that make sense?
Do you know some of the private conversations we have? Can I say a private conversation, Dad?
Absolutely.
Ooh,
so Annie, I'm going to tell you something. So some of the private conversations that go on is from my dad's heart. One of the things that he wants the most if he leaves the planet is for us to stay connected with you and to make sure that you're okay and that you know that you have a family.
Well, the other day, Jess was here and Steve and Peggy and Jim and all of us were together, and all of you, even when I'm with you or with all of them, it gives me such the largest feeling of family ever. I mean, I don't even have words sometimes. I sent Heidi a text to just thank her, and for always making me feel so welcome in my heart to all of you. So here's what I said to your sister. You're not going to get rid of me that easy.
My sister calls her the step monster.
Step monster. Yeah. Well, that's because
I want to read a couple of the comments. So my friend Joni from the Bay Dad said, I believe him. Hallelujah. And no wonder Heidi is the coolest lady. Check out her dad and his wife. They're awesome. And Joni said she was eating some ice cream, and I told her she better give me some right now.
That's right.
And I want to say hi to Terry and Karen, and thank you guys for being on. And I'm wondering if any of our viewers have any questions for Hans or Annie, my dad, or Annie, or Timothy, or I. Please put them in the chat box and we'll get them answered for you. Or any comments you want us to read, or anything you want to say. We love to hear from you.
Yeah, you do have a pretty cool dad, sister. I'd have to say, you got a cool dad. What do you think, Timothy?
Woo. Timothy, you're muted.
I do believe that Hans and Heidi are blessed to have each other. I'm blessed to have beautiful parents and a great relationship. So I'm comparing with my own, and the comparison is good.
Very cool.
So yeah, I'm really grateful for both of you. And it seems to me that that's another gift of a terminal illness or a hard illness, is that it slows us down enough to really get down to the basics and tell each other what we need to say now, rather than live in the illusion that we have all this time.
Yeah.
And it brings us closer together.
Yeah, the illusion of later.
Yeah. There's been some great artists that have written songs about, I'm thinking of one, Live Like You're Dying. Who sang that? Anyway, some country guy.
That guy.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's that guy that I talked about sitting on my shoulder, the parrot, which is that angel of death, has been really a good buddy, really. And to accept that as a mentor instead of a threat, because it didn't take me the day that he arrived at my shoulder, because it wasn't his place or his authority to do it. But the diagnosis and him represent the same kind of thing. However, it's one of those things that generates some of the best thoughts of what's important to you.
It's my biggest takeaway from today, from everything that you've said, is the angel of death is actually on everybody's shoulder all the time. Most people just deny it. And you got a terminal diagnosis and went, oh, I guess you've been there all the time. Hi. Yeah. But then you chose to not be a victim. You chose to empower yourself and make friends with the angel of death. And what I'm taking away is that however old you are, if you're listening to this talk, make friends with the angel of death and let the angel of death guide you to deepen and expand the richness of your relationships and of your life, and enjoy it. And do that even if you don't have a terminal illness, because you're going to live more authentically and with greater purpose, meaning not building cities in Africa for children, but doing what God told you, which is really enjoy this woman, Annie, and really enjoy your family and love me and love each other.
Tim, if I may say this, the other part of the angel of death, he's not this gruesome grim reaper to me at all. He's just the guy that at one point will be assigned, unplugging this for just a moment, and I get to go through this great gate, and the experience of, to me, my view of it, like I said, I'm not of the atheist mind where I just am terminated into dust and that's the end of it. But that whatever this consciousness and awareness is that makes me gets to continue. That's what's called eternal life. And his role in it is really to launch me from the flesh that limits me to all the understanding. His job is just to go. And so on that end, I don't see him as this grim, ugly guy. He's the guy that's going to really unleash me and set me free from the bondages of what I'm not able to see because I live in this. And however, the design of me living in this is to scratch and crawl to survive and keep it going. And that's a wonderful thing too, and I am. And then at that point where it goes, nope, it's all done. Yeah, that's his job. So he's my buddy. Yeah, he's not the devil. He's not that at all.
Yeah, no, I got you. It's almost like a corporation of angels that are going to be there to say, okay, you did perfectly well, and now it's time. And then they will help you transition to that next state.
Captain Hans, it's like, yeah, I'm good. Let her roll.
So we got a couple comments. I keep echoing. No questions, just lots of admiration. Thank you for such a vulnerable share. And sorrow is the shadow of love who give it depth.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that what I want to share from my heart of going through any of the things that we've talked about, deaths of other people or being diagnosed terminally ill, or many of you know that I have alcoholism, which is a disease I've lived with my whole life, and I've shared about depression, that all of it is a gift of living. And that's one thing that I've embraced in my heart that I want to share today, is that a lot of people that come to me, they're like, oh, poor me, I'm going through this thing. And I love what a lady used to share with me. And she used to say, Heidi, it's just life happening to you. So all of this that we're talking about is not death. All of this that we're talking about is life. This is what we are doing is life.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so embracing it as not good, bad. I shouldn't have this going on. I should have this going on. Like, let's quit shitting on ourselves. And this is just life happening to us. We're just living it, and in all its glory of colors and pain and pleasure and flavorful. I mean, if you went and watched a movie and the whole movie was happy, you'd be so effing bored. You'd probably leave the theater. So why is our life any different? Like, can we experience grief as also joyful? I have. My heart's broken wide open, and it's been painful. And to be present with that pain was also joyful. Like, to feel that and to be present with it rather than avoid it like I used to. It's kind of a beautiful thing in life.
What I hear in what you're saying and in what Hans and Annie have talked about today is that, and this sounds a little morbid, but it's not, the greatest gift in our human existence is suffering, because it points us back to love and living with love and in love.
And then how do we as human beings, honestly, and this may be kind of a cliche, but if we don't suffer, where do we acquire compassion? Where do we find that? If I have never felt what I have felt, how would I ever be able to feel what you feel? Or if you're in pain, or if I've never been happy or excited, how would I know that?
Yeah, ask your computer.
Right?
Google.
How do you feel today?
Google. How do you feel about how I feel?
So I'm going to read this as a really touching comment. Joni typed in, my mother survived 4 years of Auschwitz in the concentration camp. You remind me of my mother. She pushed for the gift of living. You are amazing, Hans. All of you people sharing are giving me one of the most amazing experiences in my life.
Can I make a suggestion, Heidi, and you can tell if you want us to do it, we can do it when you're ready. But I'd love to close with a closed eye prayer, which is more of a visualization. And I'd love to put Hans in the middle of our love, and anybody who's watching the same, and just see him as thriving, healthy, vibrant, enjoying life with Annie. Everything is golden light. And to me, that's the best prayer you can send this man. Just seeing him as the great person that he already is, and just even more so.
I would love that, Timothy. And we do have to close really soon because I actually have to jump on with a client quite quickly after this. So is there any last words you guys want to say before Timothy does the closing?
Thank you for having us and letting us share with all of you too, and you sharing with us. Yeah, I feel very blessed in that too.
Yeah. I just want that prayer, because whatever it is, I'm going to receive it, and I'm going to believe it.
Wait, there is a last comment on the comment thread. Last thing I want to say is you better keep going, Hans, because Annie is a complete knockout.
Thank you. That was kind and humbling.
Yeah, it's the only reason I don't die. I'm jealous.
You can't let anybody else have her, so you better just
That's right.
stick alive.
We grow old. Yeah.
That's something I would say, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me look at my cue card. Didn't you write this?
So when you're ready, just you're already sitting with your back straight. Just close your eyes, uncross your hands, uncross your feet. Just notice your breath wherever it is, through your nose, through your mouth, in your heart, in your belly. And we're just connecting to this beautiful earth that is truly the mother of humanity and the mother of all beings, visible and invisible. And the oxygen that we're all breathing is the same oxygen. So we are in the same room. The room is called Earth. The earth is rotating and we are under the heavens. And as the earth rotates, we see different aspects of the heavens. And at night, we rotate into the earth's shadow. We are here together. And let us all take a moment now to visualize Hans as the amazing, beautiful human being that he is. Every cell in his body vibrating with health. The tumor shrinking, disappearing, absolutely gone. Joy in his heart. A really lively, lovely step. Many, many adventures he and Annie are upon. And so much love between him and his children, both with us and those that have passed over. Such a beautiful example to all of us to really embrace the shadow of death and turn it into our friend, our guide, and know that it helps us to live authentically and fully. What a great gift Hans has given us today. May he continue to live and be vibrant and healthy and with us as long as God decrees, which God decrees. I see it for quite a while. Amen. So it is. Aho.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Aloha.
Love you. Thank you guys for being with us.
Thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Never give up the ship.